Good evening and welcome to round 9 of our PPG IndyCar World Series Championship, the 1987 edition, coming to you tonight from the Michigan International Speedway for the Marlboro 500. And it's promising to be a very quick, very speedy, 500 miles, but most likely a very grueling same distance. We've had a summer break, so our drivers have had some time to get sorted, get prepared, and hopefully all set up for what's probably going to be a quite hectic final few rounds of the championship. Speaking of the racetrack previously, the Michigan International Speedway, it's a 2-mile D-shaped oval, and our drivers will be completing 250 laps around this place, which will equal exactly 500 miles plus a parade lap, for good measure. With me in the booth, I will have later Tim Hille, who, for the time being, is away on other business, but that is perfectly fine. And when he is here and ready, he'll be very happy to be here and a good help for me, considering it's 500 miles. Let's see.
Channel switched.
I'm just going to do that for now. There we go, just trying to get myself onto the server as well. We have, in terms of the points heading into this race, it is a 500-mile race where the pole position man will get 1 point for the championship, and that driver who leads the most laps will also gain 1 point. We also have the first place man getting 20 points, second place 16, then dropping by 2 points, down to 7th, where it then drops by 1 point each, down to 12th. And in terms of the standings, we have Richard Coxon in a clear championship lead, nearly 40 points, 37 points to be exact, ahead of Vadim Tachak. Equal in points to David Yates, as everyone is in warm-up at the moment. Anders Nilsson sits in 4th place on 66 points, and Thiago Canola lines up 5th in the championship standings on 63 points.
Sound resumed. Microphone activated. Welcome back.
And for this 500-mile race, just like at Indianapolis, each driver has unlimited tires for the entire event. That sounds different. Qualifying, warm-up and race. And each car is limited to 277 US gallons, or about 1,048 liters for the race. We can probably expect some low boost driving going along the way. Most likely it's going to be, I'd assume, a 5-stop event for our drivers. But we may see someone trying something different. That's usually what happens, as far as I've seen and experienced. And of course the reason why drivers can do something different is if they have a pal, say teammate for example, then obviously this track is quite open to doing a bit of, I would call it bump drafting, but maybe not bump drafting when it comes to these particular cars where the wing goes straight up into the gearbox of the car in front. We have coming up in 2 weeks time after this event, round 10 of this championship, the Escort Radar Warning 200, which I believe takes place at Mid-Ohio. I could be mistaken in that, but I believe that is the locale for that particular event. But as you may be able to hear, we have some action out on track. So let's bring it all up on screen. And I noticed that I need to quickly do something out of game. So excuse me for a moment while I'll just do that a little bit. You can see, well I can see at least, there was a, or maybe Steven is, even still is, or are a road course available on this racetrack. Similarly to how complete brain fade on the name of that track. Daytona turns off going towards turn 1 on the oval. The road course on this track did the same, or do the same, into a set of sweeping S-turns and back onto the back straight. And then you go the full back straight down, and then you have a tight 90-degree, pretty much, left-hander onto the infield road course once again, and you then have a bit of a sweeping left braking zone going into the turn, bringing you back onto the start-finish straight. As we now have the racetrack in its full glory, and we can see David Yates currently fastest in this warm-up session. We can see using all the track available to try and get some speed. Ooh, as someone said, oh dearie me! That looked like one of the red cars in this field, unsure which, but that was something going on between two other drivers, and unfortunately David got caught up in that. Adam Hackman currently second, so he's getting that AJ Foyt car up to some decent speed on these very high speed ovals. We have August Watering currently in actually fourth now, as he has been bested, driving the number 7 Patrick Racing car. Ray Riddle has gone quickest in the Chevrolet powered machine that he is driving. I think that is Mario's old car back in the day. And we can see here quite the traffic up ahead. Jakob Fröksen nearest in front of us. And then we have Bors, Oscar Team, and unsure who is at the very front of this pack there, but that's some of the stuff we will be seeing during this race. We have Grant Riddle in 6th, Richard Coxon jumped up to 5th. Jon Tim currently 7th, with Anders Nilsson in 8th, actually 9th. So Richard Wilkes got up to 4th. So it looks like there's some pace to get out of these cars. Oh, someone else has had a bit of a moment here. Looks like another off at the final turn. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there is a bit of a bump coming off the final turn. But let's take a moment, and if Jon is going around for another lap here, let's jump on board with him and see what he sees as he's doing a lap here of the... Dear. Looks like he is not doing another lap. Anders is starting a lap though. Down towards turn 1. Flat chap and just a slight lift on the entry, and then keep the throttle on and get a good balance in the car. Pretty much full throttle all the way through. Then down the back straight. Into turn 3. And pretty much full chap all the way through. A little bit of a lift. And that's where the bump is, about I'd say 4 or 5 columns before the pit entry. There is a little bit of an undulation change that I noticed there was unsettling Anders' car, and I would assume that's what's causing other drivers to have issues out of turn 4 as well. We also have Jason White in the top 10 here, that's very nice to see. We have Vadim Tachak 11th at the moment. We have Alberto Ibanez in 12th. We have Joa Bors 13th. Alberto Quino in what I think is a new car for him. The Bandit Skull machine, I think that is. Yep, it is. In 14th at the moment. We have Mike Olsen in the Newman Teamworks. Simon Wattman back racing in what I think is the number 11. That is Keo McKeel's car usually, but the early start time and the Dutch Grand Prix, along with an early start time for him, means he will be sitting out this race. Jacob Fredriksson in 18th. David Saber currently 19th in this warm-up session. We have Aniel May in that newly acquired Penske in 20th. We have Jules Begaard in 21st. Luciano Roja is here with Bruno Chacon as well, the 2 Brazilians. Michael Drexler as well is here. With Filippo Marazzi with a bit of a bent car. So that car is not handling quite to his liking yet, but hopefully he'll get it sorted. And we have Greg Della Cella in the Hemmelgarn car, still up racing here. We have Oscar Tim in the Machinists Union entry showing up as well. And we are quickly closing in on the end of this warm-up session, about 30 seconds, and then we'll have a little bit of a green setup period for the drivers to get the final bits sorted on their cars and the teams get everything set up for their drivers. And then a few moments after that, the parade lap will take place, and then the race starts. Based on what I've seen so far and in this season, I would say I would probably put a vote down for August Watering actually to have a good race. I know he prepares very well and overall he's had some good pace, but lack of luck. I think the luck will turn for him tonight and he will have a great race here in this 500 miler and hopefully a good finishing position as well. And let's see here, we have actually starting on pole, Ray Riddall. Possibly the Chevrolet helping a little bit, but we can see there the Lola Cosworth of Richard Coxon is in third in the qualifying, so that is a very good drive from Ray to get pole here. Very nicely done. Hopefully the engine will be cooperative for the race as well, so you can have a good one. Starting from second will be Vadim Tachak for RCR Racing. We have Richard Coxon starting from third for True Sports in the Budweiser car. We have Richard Wilkes starting fourth for Hemmelgarn Racing. We have Adam Hackman starting from fifth for AJ Foyt. We have Anders Nilsson starting sixth for Vince Granatelli. We have August Watering starting from 7th in the Patrick Racing car. We have Juha Bo starting from 8th for Reiner Racing. We have Grant Riddall in 9th for Craco Racing, and we have Alberto Ibanez rounding out the top 10 in the first of the Penske cars. We have Jason White starting from 11th for Gallus Racing. We have Oscar Tim starting from 12th for Machinists Union. His brother and teammate Jon Tim starts from 13th, with Jules Bouchard starting in 14th in the second of the Penskes. David Saber starts from 15th for Paddock Racing, and Bruno Chacon starts from 16th for Dick Simon Racing. Jakob Fröksen starts 17th in the second ATA Foyt car, with Simon Wattman starting from 18th for Gallus Racing. Mikael Drexler starts 19th for Bettenhausen, and Matheus da Silva starts from 20th for Penske Racing. Greg Dallacella starts from 21st, with Alberto Quino 22nd, Mike Olsen 23rd, Daniel May 24th, David Yates 25th, Filippo Marazzi 26th, and Luciano Roja starting from 27th. And we are just about ready to get this race underway. Just a few seconds longer. And the green flag is... oh dear, it's a long haul. Oh dear, there's some check up behind. Now the green flag is out and the race is underway. I hope no one picked up damage from any of that craziness going on behind. Ooh, there's some more tire lockup or someone having a moment, but I think everyone is so far getting through okay through turn 1 and 2. Oh, there's someone up high. I think that may have been... I'm unsure. But Ray Riddall holds on to the lead for now. Let's see if we can work out. It might have been Matheus da Silva that was up high, along with Wattman maybe. Oh, and there's a spinner. That's David Saber. Oh, just a... oh, no! Oh, dearie me. Oh, he was able to avoid the barriers, but then unfortunately gets sideswiped by... I think that was Mikael Drexler. And I'm worried that that may be David Saber's race over. He was spinning for quite a while. Yeah, David Saber retires after lap 1. And Mikael Drexler with a very heavily bent car. That was effectively a T-bone situation, so I'm thinking that that's probably going to take quite a while for the team there to repair Drexler's car. And Tachak has now taken the lead ahead of Juha Bors, so Juha Bors has had a fantastic start here. Coxon in third, Hackman fourth, Wilkes in fifth, Grant Vidal in sixth, and Ray Vidal all the way down to seventh now. Where the Watering in eighth, and that's the slow Drexler below, and that's 3 wide between Oscar Tim. Oh no 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 no! Ooh. Dear me, that's that looks like a that might even be a puncture for Alberto Ibanez there. Good work keeping the car high. Yeah, that's definitely bent suspension, possibly even a puncture for Alberto. And that's how little it takes. Just a tiny bit of contact side to side and the car just goes loose and you are off. And that's even worse. That's unfortunately, I think, Alberto out indeed. So Alberto Senior out after lap 3, make that 4 laps. That's very unfortunate indeed. So Tachak still in the lead, Ball second, Hackman third, Coxon fourth, Wilkes fifth, Ray Vidal sixth, Grant Vidal seventh, Watering eighth, Oscar Tim in ninth, and David Yates up into 10th. So starting from the back, already up into 10th place. And August Watering up high. Now that's not good. Oh dearie me, he has some damage as well. Oh, I'm sorry, August. I think I may have caused that one. Oh, and he even gets a penalty for what I think the game would consider wall riding. Oh dear, and he's coming up the track. No, that's Jason White as well. Oh, this track is taking no prisoners whatsoever. That is highly unfortunate. So August Watering retiring, and Jason White, I hope, will be trying to get the car to the pits and pick up some repairs. Oh, that didn't sound good. I wonder if that's a track thing. Oh dear me, it looks like it. That's quite a bit of damage. I think that's unfortunately Jason out as well. The Attrition starts early here tonight. The track, as I mentioned moments ago, takes no prisoners whatsoever. Decent battle here between... Oh, that's Grant Vidal with damage as well. Oh dearie me. A lot of stuff happening all around the track. Oh, he's up in the wall early here. Looks like that started all the way back at turn 4. Oh, looks like the car bottomed out on him, and that's just enough to bring him up into the outside barriers, but he's able to get the car back to the pits. Jason White has indeed retired as well. That's highly unfortunate. And we can sort of see that for Anders Nilsson, and in a way for David Yates there, that the dirty air, the wake of the cars in front, while it gives you a lot of pace down the straights, if you end up in it the wrong way in the turns, it causes quite a bit of understeer for you as the driver. And unfortunately Grant Vidal has retired as well. let's ride on board with the Richard Coxon for a lap or two and see if Ray can find a way past. There he goes. Let's see if he can even hold on to that third place ahead of Richard Coxon. Oh, look at that down the straight. Holy moly. That Chevrolet pulls well. As I heard, we were joined by someone here in the booth.
Yeah, that's me.
Albert.
Since I was an very early retirement, I thought I'd join you at least until Jonatan comes.
Thank you.
Well, I'm here. You have to wait no longer.
Okay.
Well, you're welcome to stay if you wish.
Have I seen it correct that August Watching just got a 10-second penalty from race direction?
He did indeed. He ended up wide and into the wall and was staying up high, so I wonder if the game may have constituted that to be what is in sim racing terms called a wall ride, which then meant that he got a penalty for it. But welcome into the booth as well, Tim.
Yeah, thank you. But Watchwing is retired, so the penalty is kinda useless.
Well, he received it before he retired, so...
Ah, well, it only showed up to me when I get to my PC running, so...
Ah, okay. Well, condolences on your early retirement, Alberto.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, I was going slightly down, Oscar team was going slightly up, and there was a very small touch of my left front wheel and his rear right wheel, but it sufficed to send me up, heading for the wall. And then I got suspension damage, and well, it was a challenge basically to keep the car there until the whole pack went by and then bring it down to the grass. But at least I managed to do it, not crush anyone and not cause a yellow. So
in a way, in a bad situation, still a win, but I'm sorry to see you retire so early.
yeah, well, it's been a really complicated, hectic week for me. In the last race that we did at the Nürburgring, I found out that my PC was starting to have problems because the front USB panel where you usually plug your devices, apparently it was failing. That's why I ran out of pedals. All of a sudden in the middle of the race, I did a hasty repair over this weekend because I was also part of the weekend out, and in the end I certainly did not have enough practice. So I was with a setup trying to be conservative. But like I said, while trying to stay out of trouble, the opposite happened. So it is what it is. Racing, it's what it is. So nothing you can do about it. Let's hope now that the rest of the race is very interesting. It's going to be an attrition one, that's for sure. And at these high speeds that the cars are achieving here, it's no wonder that kart for this race started the boost cut that lasted for many years, because these things are going here really quick. In qualifying, we were going close to the 400 km/h mark, and that's really crazy.
That is scary, to say the least.
Yeah, because you certainly have to lift in the corners. I mean, unlike what we had in previous years in Michigan, Wilkes has now messaged the physics to a really very advanced state, and it's now the same as the Briel's car had to suffer here. I mean, you can no longer go completely flat through the turns here, both because the track has been adjusted and because the physics now don't allow it. So you have to cut, and here is one of the points where even if the setup is important, the driver is also becoming very important, because those who are able to really only lift as much as needed to be able to make the most of the turn are the ones that are edging ever forward from the cars behind, and then are opening a gap.
Sounds like this is the kind of racetrack where even I as a non-oval driver could have done decent. Strexler, now finally the team has repaired his car after him and Saber came together. Another driver caught up in another driver's accident, but the team has at least tried to repair the car there. And you do say that the driving style has an effect, but I would hazard to guess that the engine, what engine you have behind you in the car, affects the situation as well. Or what do you think, guys?
Yeah, well, the Chevy engine, obviously, because it has more power, tends to have an advantage here. But then you have cars like the Lolas, for example, which are a very aerodynamic chassis, and tends to more or less offset that advantage. So if you have, for example, a Lola with a Cosworth engine, and you are pitched against the latest March, the 87, with the Chevy engine, then you are pretty much equal. Same goes for the March that I was driving, the 86, even if it's a 1-year-old chassis, but it's just in the sensitivity of the aero, it's a bit harder to set up, but in the end it has very similar grip to the 87. So with a Chevy on the back, it should be on the pace of the cars that have, for example, Adam Hackman or Juha Boss or Richard Coxon. So everything is more matched up here than it would seem. It's just, well, different treats for the cars. But look at that. I mean, for example, Vadim is doing here a superb job with the March 87 Cosworth. Not the quickest combo, one of the quickest, but not the quickest combo, and yet he's leading there somehow comfortably, or at least that's what it seems.
Indeed, and I'm impressed with Oscar Tim at the moment. He just made his way past Richard Wilkes up into 6th. He's definitely improved his craft during this season.
Yeah, I hope he didn't get any kind of damage from the slight touch with me. I don't think so, because I didn't get damage. I mean, the reason of the retirement was that it was at those speeds and in the middle of the corner, it was enough to offset my car and send it up to the wall. But I didn't receive any damage, and I hope that's also the case for him. And indeed, his car seems to be working pretty well.
One thing I'm sort of worried about as he gets up the inside of Coxon there, is the fact that many of the drivers in cars seem to be sparking quite a bit through the turns. I think that's the reason why a couple of drivers went out early here, bottoming out and ending up out of the groove and in the barriers on the outside.
Maybe also a combination of that, the cold tires and the slipstream effects, which always are very high in tracks like this. They really do unsettle your car a lot when you're driving. You can feel the turbulence from the cars that are around you. Oops, there's a yellow now.
Well, let's see if we can find what caused that. Oh, it's Jacob Fredriksson in the second of the 88 Ford cars. Has had a big accident somewhere along the way here.
Yeah, so it seems.
Oh, looks like it snapped on him as he turned down into turn 3.
Yeah, it's one of the things. I mean, if you want to go quick here, you need a setup that is quite edgy. You need to really have the rear smoothly drifting behind you to make it around the corner effortlessly. And that can be very tricky to control sometimes, because the track is also bumpy at some points. So, yeah.
Ooh, a few drivers got a bit lucky then. Namely, I think that would have been... someone else has had an incident under the yellows here, I think. I think that may have been Mateus da Silva and Alberto Quino just about avoided Fredriksson's car as he span, and I think Richard
There is
Coxon
some trouble with the safety car here. They are queuing up after the safety car, yeah. Very slow, and some drivers
That's a yellow car. Oh, and there's a spin there. That's Juha Boss, and I would guess that this may be a misshift. Wouldn't surprise me much, but he can join the queue still, I think, because the game will still register the position he was in. So some people heading for the pits, others do not. The leaders, what about the leaders?
Yakes is in, but he's been running hot. I think Tachak stays out. Hackman looks to be staying out.
Coxon was already.
Quite. Well, that's some hectic 27 laps, and I would guess that's roughly, what could you get out of it? Maybe 35 laps?
Yeah, the objective is to get 37 laps per tank. So I'm not sure what these guys are actually thinking. I mean, it's usually the strategy that everybody tells you is that if you are below half a tank, then you
Microphone
pit
muted.
if
Microphone
there is a yellow.
activated.
That's the usual thing to do. But you can always, of course, gamble. And let's see what happens here, because let's see the safety car. Yeah, it's going for another lap. So I'm not sure. Oh, no. Okay, I was thinking maybe someone is deciding to pit now. Has had second thoughts,
Oh,
but no.
someone did. Yellow car, it might be Angel May.
Yeah, but that's for repairs because she had damage. She had bruised a wall.
That's unfortunate.
Chacon's in the pits currently.
I know it's Matheus da Silva who heads for pit lane. Along with, you said Bruno Chacon indeed. I wonder if he may have been caught up in that safety car stack-up situation then. Because he's been sitting there for quite a while by the looks of things. And unfortunately, with all these early retirements, my call for good race is already out. Any thoughts or ideas? We might still have a good race going in this one.
Well, right now it's probably one of the more complicated moments to tell because after this yellow where there are now several strategies at play, anything can happen. So it's not about the pace that the people in the front were having. It's about what's going to happen now that some, like Coxon, have a full tank, whereas others will be quicker now. But I don't think that in 10 laps that they will maybe have until they pit, they will be able to really make up for the difference in lap times versus, I mean, if they have to pit on the green versus pitting on the yellow. We will see, because it's true that with a full tank, the cars are really heavy. They start very slow, and now these cars, the ones that did not pit it, they must go really quick because they are very light. And they can also probably use a bit more boost. So let's see. I mean, the race is now not just very open, but it's just anyone's guess at this point.
Will be also interesting to see how the drivers manage the 10-lap offset that they now have in the fuel, because I bet you said the target is like 37 laps.
Yeah, something like that. So the safety car is going in now. And this is a late green, always. People should be grouping.
And the green
And there
flag
it is.
Yep, green flag is back out, and Ray Riddle has a good restart there, already up into second.
Oh God, Coxon and Jakes really should buy now. They were using really high boost here for the start. They know what is at stake, and if they can keep up now quick, they have a very good chance of... Well, I can see something's wrong with Little Al's car. He's going very slow. He's losing positions. He's heading for the pits.
I think he
Maybe
may...
he had contact with another car.
I think he may have been the one... I saw some tire marks of someone having been completely locked up and heading for the outside barrier. I wonder if he may have been the driver in that situation when the safety car came out.
Why didn't he pit for repairs? This is really weird.
Quite, he may have had contact during the second part of the yellow.
I don't know. Anyway, that's in the lead, Tachak, followed by Ray Riddle and Adam Hackman. Then it's Richard Wilkes and Anders Nilsson, the people who did not pit. But there's David Jakes now in 6th position, and we should be following closely the lap times that everyone is doing, because that will tell us what's going to happen in the next pit stop. So very strong opening for Vadim, 34.46. In the case of David Jakes, which is the quickest of the cars that have pit, That's 34.9. So 0.3 of a second doesn't seem to be much of a reward for the risk of staying out.
No, indeed.
34.1 in this lap for Vadim. 34.7 in the case of David Jakes. So the gap is opening a bit now.
And I believe that was the fastest race lap so far by Vadim that time round.
Yep. Now I'll be back in a moment. So I will ask Little Al what happened.
Ooh, another fastest lap by
User left your
Vadim.
channel.
What do you think, Tim? Is this a move by Vadim to try and open up the gap as much as possible to Yakes and Coxon to give him a chance with a green flag pit stop, or is this simply the pace he has?
Yeah. I mean, when you get a safety car, I better talked about the fuel target, and when you have the safety car, obviously you save some fuel. So Vadim could
User
maybe
joined your
just
channel.
burn that fuel down to because he will still be above his target, you know. So he could use it as a little extra to build up a margin to Jakes for later parts in the race when they will not even off of his fuel strategies, but when it all played out, you know.
So I just spoke with Little Al, and he told me that when the yellow came out and they were grouping behind the safety car, he briefly locked the wheels and the car swerved, touched the wall, and he did not enter the pits because it didn't seem to have much of damage. But then when he sped up after the green flag was given, he realized that the damage was actually much bigger than he thought. So he's in for repairs. He's already out on track now, and he says depending if the car is safe or not, he will continue around.
It's very unfortunate. That's presumably a bit of suspension damage then, that when the car wasn't fully loaded, difficult to sense, but when it was fully loaded then it clearly showed up. As it looks like it's tight in behind there, third, fourth, fifth running close together. In the form of Hackman, Wilkes and Nilsson.
Jakes currently has about the same pace as the top 5 leading car, so they are about the same. Same with Coxon.
So I would say then that not pitting here is probably something that they will pay later for. But we will see.
Well, I suppose it also comes down to how does your fuel strategy work out.
Yeah, but it's at the moment Jakes is 4 seconds behind Vadim, which is nearly nothing when you have to pit on the green.
True, but wouldn't they need to pit early towards the end of, like an extra time towards the end of the race instead?
I don't think so because of the yellow itself. I mean, they actually pit, when they pit and they came out, I think we were already, when the green flag was given, we were on lap 36. I don't know. Well, should be looking at that because, let me check that. It was actually lap 30 when the green was given.
Well, here
So
comes
6 to go.
Tachak
Yeah,
into the
depends.
pits.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's lap 38. He could win at most one lap with by going slow in the under caution, but now he had to pit. So we will see. But I mean, I don't think that this is enough. That this is soon enough of a pit stop to force them to actually do an extra one later, even for a splash and dash. I don't think so, because of from what I've seen, what the cars were using in terms of fuel and all that, you could probably manage that. There is not a huge difference in fuel consumption between the different boost levels, so I think you can still go quite quick. even if you are using the... Well, Wilkes also in the apron now seems to be heading for the pits.
He was already.
Ah, okay, he's exiting, yes.
But the one who's done the best fuel save by far is Adam Hackman. I think he's now heading for the pit lane. An additional 2 laps on top of what everyone else did.
Wasn't Heckman also extending his stints at the Indy? Always?
Yes, I think he was.
Fuel saver Adam Heckman, saving the world.
Well, it's also the Lola, like we said, is a bit more aerodynamic, so it could have slight advantage in that regard.
True,
I mean,
but still he's extending the fuel on top of Coxon usually as well then, so... And
yeah, lap 41 with yellow. It's very good, very good. But indeed 38.
Indeed. I would say, in the words of commentators on IMSA radio when they were talking about the driver in the United Sports Car Championship, he's got the pink bunny flippers on. Very neat and careful on the throttle, saving as much fuel as possible. Whether that's true or not in terms of the slippers, we don't know, but he's definitely very gentle on the throttle, have to be with such a good fuel-saving situation going on. And we can see there actually, Anders Nilsson, who stayed out, is now a lap behind the leaders.
Yes, he also went through the pits.
So that
Which explains that.
Yeah, that shows how much time you lose with a green flag pit stop around here.
Yes, because despite it being a very big track, we're talking about 30-something seconds laps, which is absolutely crazy. I mean, it's nearly it's obviously bigger in terms of total time than Milwaukee, but it's like really close to a short track in that regard, because if you remember Indy, for example, we were talking there 40-something seconds per lap, 10 seconds more per lap. In race pace, about 10 seconds more than here. And that gives you a bit more leeway on when you're pitting. Whoops, there's another car that...
Oh no, it's Anders Nilsson! Oh, and a second car. I think that's the Newman Teamworks car, I think. Wow, does he... Oh no, he nearly completely avoided the barriers, did Anders. And it looks like that's Coxon actually, crabbing with the car. Oh dear me, it looks like both of them have quite a bit of damage on their cars. Let's see if we can catch what happened.
Together on the track.
Oh no!
Oh, I see what happened. When going down for the overtake, Coxon, he forced the car. He wished the car too much, and he lost the rear.
Oof.
And that's what caught Nilsson, who after that stunt actually entered the pits.
They are two very good mates, former teammates at Ferrari in the 86 F1 Championship, but I think that one will sting a little bit, that whole situation.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously a race accident. I mean,
it is, but it's still one of those situations where you go, well, that's shitty.
And meanwhile, there's Jakes and Tim joking for position. We were missing that. Tim briefly in the lead, now again. And he's following a very different strategy here when driving. Well, a different technique, let's say. He's going way more down than the other cars. Down to the apron there. That's something that causes a lot of stress on your right front tire. So when you are going up again, you can easily bruise the wall if you have been doing that for too many laps. But Tim seems to have a way of getting it to work. Probably a combination of whatever boost he's using and the driving technique.
Indeed, and I notice he is one of the cars that's sparking the most when in the turns, so I wonder if there's some kind of setups tweak as well that he's done that helps him, because you can see he has a slightly more attack angle towards the bottom of the track compared to Jake's car.
Well, I'm not right now in cockpit view comparing something, and I can tell you already that, for example, he has a way shorter final gear, which explains why he has so much more acceleration out of the turns. But at the same time, he's peaking at 11,400 at the end of the straight. And, well, obviously that's stressing the engine way more than what the other competitors are doing. And in a 500 miler, I don't know.
Well, it might be a case for him where he went, well, I won't be able to do anything if I do the normal thing, I'll try something different.
Yeah, he's basically, I can see what he's doing. He must be using very low wings, quite high setup, as many RPMs from the engine as he can get. And he's really slowing it a lot in the corners. And then coming out accelerating. He can do that because of the way he's managing the engine and that, but it's a big question mark if that can last 500 miles.
Indeed, and I notice now behind Jakes is the Machinists Union teammate and brother of Oscar Tim, Jon.
Yep. Seems to be, I would rather say, in a similar setup.
Very much a possibility. Ooh, Jon with
So
a
both
big
brothers
loose.
seem to have prepared well the race.
And Tacek is currently catching the first cars on the strategy where you pit under the first yellow. He's now about 6 seconds away from Rocha, who is the first car on the alternative strategy.
That's indeed the case, as Simon Wattman in the second still running Gallus car goes a lap down, but up into 8th in the Honda powered car. That's very neatly done indeed. Especially
No, I should
considering
also
he
say
picked up that
there's-
car quite late, didn't he?
There's Mateus da Silva in a very meritorious 5th position there with the car. He was struggling with setup. Over the week, I wanted to help him, but I could not since I had my own woes. And he seems to really have found a good compromise. He's driving really steadily there, and look at that. I mean, 5th position, that's really, really nice.
It definitely is, and let's hope he can hold on to that, because that would be a fantastic way to start off the second half of the year. Johan Bors, I suppose, likewise, he's had some pace, but rarely had any good finishes in this series, but now up into 4th. And Luciano Rocha as well in 6th is definitely a good drive as well so far.
Anders is still in the pits, repairing his car, or rather his crew repairs the car. He still has some hope for high attrition, I guess.
Well, it's probably the way to go about it. Coxon is out and racing again.
Yeah, in his case, I think it was only the front wing. Unless, well, he can explain that later. But yeah, 9 laps down. That's quite something.
Indeed.
On the positive side, you now have a lot more leeway with the fuel.
Indeed, as we jump on board with Jon Tim, as he has a great run. Sneaks up the inside, but Jake's running around outside in 3 and 4. Side by side coming off. Oh, looks like he'll be able to do it though. Jon Tim up into 2nd place.
And I'm switching cockpits, and I can tell you that by the end of the straight, Tim was a good 1,000 RPM higher than David Yates. That's a really short gear ratio. And while the temperatures might be under control because of the huge speeds here, I mean, the engine is taking obviously a beating with that.
Well, I suppose the way they might be looking at it is that the Mazda rotary engine could last at 18,000 RPM. Surely these can last for 11,000 RPM for a while.
All you need is a bit of luck.
Quite.
And I can tell you now that Vadim is no longer a lap down. He's from the ones who pit. He's the first one who is now in the lead lap. He's 28 seconds behind, but he's already in the lead lap. Ray Riddle, Simon Watman, Van Hackman's Wills, all the rest are now one lap down still. But Vadim is already on the lead lap.
Jonatan with a hell of a moment there. Let's ride in his ride along and see him at work. Sorry for cutting you off. He had a massive loose moment going into turn 1. Turned down and the car snapped and he had to counter steer to hold it. Doesn't look quite as scary on board there, but that was quite a moment on the TV camera. Sorry, go on.
Oof, we are really counter-steering there. I mean, those cars are really loose, but well, that's the only way to go quick here. But yeah, you need a lot of feel for the car here. Because you need to know when the rear is going too far. And look at what happened to Coxon.
Indeed.
Wilkes just passed Heckman and Watman and is now up into P9, which should put him third in the drivers of his few stint. Wilkes nearly lost it. Oh my god, that looks scary.
No, he is off. Oh, someone is off. Was that Angel May maybe? Yes, it is. Just behind him, Angel May lost it and ended up in the infield. Don't think she hit anything.
No, this is a big infield, about the only...
Oh, there was actually...
Here.
Yep, there were actually contact between May and Wilkes.
Oh, hang on. I'm just...
Looks like Angel May is trying to wait for the bigger bunch of the field to get going in a way so that she can more safely get going once again.
Oscar, team in the pits.
Oh, that is a bit early, I'd say. And Jon as well, so both of them, yeah. So that is lap 64. I think they pitted at the same time as Coxon and company, but that is rather early, and Oscar with quite a lengthy pit stop there. Jon already done.
Maybe Oscar is repairing some damage or doing some wing adjustments.
Could very well be the case.
Oscar had a massive mischief that hurt my sword.
And probably the soul of any mechanic in the pits, along with you. Because that definitely is one of the sounds you definitely do not want to hear at any point in time. Let's see, Jonatan has stayed on the lead lap. If only just. And now you have Bose and David Yates into the pits as well. Here comes Tatchak to take over the lead. And Rocha actually not too far behind, and still, I think, on the same, similar to the same strategy that Tachak has.
Rocha pitted lap 26, so when the first yellow came out, he's extending, doing the Heckman.
Interesting. I'd say he probably needs to do that too. Well, I mean, look at that. Hackman, who pitted on a green flag, was on the lead lap then. Is now back on the lead lap, but he has Juha Boos, who stopped at the other earlier time, is right behind him now. And Jon Tim is still ahead of him. Ray Riddle is still ahead of them. Luciano Rocha now pitted. And the Yakes is still ahead of them. So, looks like for now what Alberto said was right. The earlier strategy seems to be the better one. I must say I'm still unsure about the pit stop situation to come at the end of the race. And I suppose, now that we have a bit of a lull in the action, let's bring up the trivia question for tonight. We have, for your appetite, quite interesting question. Who was the first second generation race car driver to win a 500-mile IndyCar race at Michigan? Was it A, Michael Andretti? Was it B, Pancho Carter? Or was it C, Alonso Jr.?
I would go with B, simply because I like his first name, Pancho. Sounds great.
That's as good a reason as any.
Pancho is actually a short name in Spanish for Francisco. They are the same name, so it's like Bob and Robert, you know. Well, yeah. Anyway, I would go with Michael Andretti, and I'm basing on the fact that I don't know. In the case of Pancho Carter, I know his father was obviously a racer in the USAC track, but I don't remember. I don't think he was too successful. Maybe he won at Michigan, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But in the case of the answers, I would think, if I remember correctly, that while Al Unser was a very accomplished road racer, it was only later that he really came on his own in what is oval racing. Whereas in the case of Michael, he was blistering quick everywhere. So my bet is there on the Andretti's.
Also a fair reason. We'll let you as viewers ponder that question for a little bit, and we'll return to it later in this race.
And it seems that there are more cars heading to the... Wait a moment. To the pits?
Olsen and Little L.
I noticed Ray Riddle has gotten past David Yakes. Wonder if Yakes had a bit of a moment somewhere.
That's Mike Olson is in the pits in this case.
I think we're closing into the second set of pit stops now, for those that went long in the first stint, give or take 10 laps or so.
Yeah. And now, okay, Vadim is actually signaling pits. Let's see if this is something automated. That the team is calling him because they see the fuel going down, or because it was scheduled like this, or if it's
Oh
yellow.
no!
What?
That's Richard Wilkes and one of the Penske's. That's Matheus da Silva, I'm sorry to say. Oh dearie me.
What happened here?
Quite a bit happened, it seems. Oh, someone was off. Oh, it was an early off for Matheus da Silva. Lost a wheel hitting the outside barrier, and he ended up down in the race, down on the racetrack. Richard Wilkes tried to slow down, clearly slow down, but still couldn't avoid it. And unfortunately, that's both of their races over.
Vadim and Ray pitting under yellows.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is absolutely what Vadim needed. Absolutely.
It's a nigh-on copy to what happened to Richard Coxon earlier. Matheus da Silva tried to keep a slightly lower line, and unfortunately the car oversteered on him, and then obviously tried to keep the car high, but in a similar fashion to some cars, it slid. The rear end stayed where it was, but the front end slid down and ended up almost fully side to the direction of travel, and Wilkes had nowhere to go. So unfortunately Matheus da Silva is out and Richard Wilkes is out of this race. And that's one of those crashes as well where you're sort of happy that we're virtual racing and not IRL racing. That would have been a very bad one.
Yep. So the leader is now thus John Tim, followed by the Vadim Tchek, Oscar Tim, and David Jakes, who is, he's catching up at the pit stop. Well, this very much equalizes things, because everybody's now on a full tank right after the safety car. The obvious difference is that in the case of Vadim, he should have probably a bit more fuel to use for later.
Indeed.
But we will see, because going slower, as the cars who pit earlier did in the first stop, basically means that you also use less fuel. So we will see.
This yellow also helped Oscar Tim, because we remember after the second pit stop, I think, Oscar was standing way longer, and I watched the gap. Before the yellow, the gap was about 15 seconds. Now it's down to 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm. So, and with all this, Little Al, for example, is now only 2 laps down instead of 4. I don't know if he pit, but well, you can easily pit here and not lose anything in this situation.
Indeed. So the standings roughly a third into this race. John Tim currently in the lead behind the safety car. Vadim Tchek second. Oscar Tim third. David Yakes fourth. Juha Boos fifth. Ray Riddle sixth. Adam Hackman in seventh. Luciano Rocha just barely off the lead lap in eighth. Simon Wattman in ninth. Jules Bouchard in 10th. Mike Olsen in 11th. Richard Wilkes and Matheus da Silva tied. Alberto Quino 14th. Brunus Chacon 15th. Aileen May 16th. Richard Coxon 17th. Anders Nilsson 18th. And Michael Drexler 19th. As the green flag is back out and the race is back underway. And John Tim with a bit of a gap to drivers behind. A few cars in between, so he should be able to open up a neat little buffer zone.
Microphone muted. Microphone activated.
And I should also say that despite getting a new wing, Coxon's car is damaged. And you can really see it. It looks a bit funky in the front. Whoops, there goes Oscar Tim past Vadim. Oof. Those guys are going really quick. Very high boost here. What's up with Angel May? I think she's going high to let the other cars by.
Definitely.
Yeah, she's back to normal speed. She's up to normal speed.
Well, that's good.
So, John and Oscar team, both brothers there, fighting it out at the top after 80 laps.
Heckman just got Jakes because Jakes had to slow down for a lapped car, I think. Got stuck behind him. Heckman was on the inside, easy pass.
Oh, and Bose followed him through as well.
Ray Riddle also eyeing up and move.
What a battle group this turned out to be. Let's look back from Juha Bose as Jakes has what looked like a bit of a run. As you say, Ray Riddle right behind him as well. Bose way up high. Jakes slips past. Both Ray and Rocha very close to ending up in the barrier on the outside. Here comes Ray Riddle slipstreaming and slingshotting past Bose. Hackman with a gap to the group behind. And traffic, despite it being a long racetrack and many retirements already, here is where the traffic is at the moment. Gap more or less maintaining at the top between the brothers. Hackman looks to be catching up to Tatchak at the moment though. And Jakes still under pressure from Ray Riddle. And I think Ray may have an opportunity at the end of the back straight here, going into 3 and 4. He does indeed, goes past even before they get to turn 3 and 4. Ray Riddle up in the 5th, Jakes down to 6th. And Queen on Olsen looks to be in a battle as well in behind. Make that not a battle for position. They are a couple of laps in between each other.
Delal is actually 2 laps down when compared with Mike. So he's basically trying to unlap himself and get a bit closer.
And it looks like Tatchak was held up by traffic because he's been able to pull away a little bit from Hackman in the last 2 to 3 laps.
The teams are currently in a world of their own. They are the only ones about lapping the 34 fours or threes. Everyone else has at least at the 34.7. They are really pushing or abusing the engine, call it as you will.
And I suppose we'll know come the end of the race whether they were pushing or straining their engines, shall we say.
I can already smell the barbecue.
I hope for their sake that it's not going to be full-on barbecues, but we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. And Yake's trying to get up the inside of Ray Riddle, but Ray with that Chevrolet power goes and flies past down the front straight.
Interesting to see is that Jax started P25 and Ray P pole position, and they're now fighting and are in the same strategy group if I'm not mistaken. So that's, I mean, Jake's race turned out quite nicely until now, and let's see if he can get up any further after starting P25.
Well, that's one of the interesting things with these long distance races. It doesn't really matter where you qualify. It's all about staying out of trouble and having a decent race pace. Or if one were to look at, say, Le Mans back in the day, keeping the car running. There were several occasions where cars won that or finished very well, that were not expected to finish as high up as they did.
Yeah, let's be real. I mean, we're only in lap 93 of 250. And this is a long race, lots of attrition, and many things can happen still. I usually tend to say when we are about in the middle of the race that if at this point some people are like 1 full minute ahead of the others, well, in another half of the race the opposite can happen. So anything is open always.
Indeed. As an example, with Le Mans, several times when it was P1, P2, and then the GT drivers teams, there were several occasions where P2 cars would finish second or third because the P1 cars ran into trouble.
Mm-hmm. Amazing in any case that the top 7 is just separated by 13 seconds still after nearly 100 laps and all the mishaps that have happened so far. But yeah.
Indeed. And Hackman has once again been able to close in on Tatchak. That's all going on. And you have Bo saying too far behind Yates. So I suppose the way to look at it is that all of them is just outside slipstreaming range in the positions they are at the moment.
Mhm.
John Team building up a nice gap. About 10 or 15 laps ago, his gap was 2 seconds. Now it's double that, 4 seconds. And Tatcha can't seem to match them both.
So well, that's one thing we haven't talked yet about, and I know it's early in the race, but that's also the championship standing situation. Right now, Richard Coxon is leading with 126 points, and tied in second are Vadim Techak and David Jakes with 89 points. Should the race end as it is now, this would be a massive leap forward both for Vadim and David Jakes, because Richard is now in 14th position, which means he's not going to score too well. Vadim is in podium position, but like we said, anything can happen with the team brothers. We don't know how much they are stressing the engines.
Microphone muted. Microphone activated. Microphone muted. Microphone activated.
No, indeed. That's very true. Very true to say the least.
Microphone muted. Microphone activated. Microphone muted.
Unlike what happened in USAC, the
Microphone activated. Microphone
the races
muted.
here are
Microphone
the same
activated.
points no matter the distance, so you get the same points for winning here, even if it's a 500 miler that you would get for winning in Milwaukee. But in any case, that's 20 points for the first and a single point for the 12th, and nobody else behind it scores. So
A car,
there's
yellow car
also-
died.
Oh
I
no.
think it might be Angel May. Yeah, it's Angel
Yeah, that
May.
would be
She's
Angel May
down
indeed.
at my apron.
Ah, yes.
But it runs still? No,
Well, it looks
she
like-
retired.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. I suppose the fortunate thing is she managed to spin roughly out of anyone's way. Looks like, oh, that looks like a wheel control failure. Like the wheel just stopped working. Oh, that was Rocha just about managing to avoid it, and then getting in between the traffic to get down low, and then probably in the end a good idea to say, nah, I think that's my race done, especially if that was indeed a wheel failure that caused that incident, as we have drivers in the pits. That's the Tim
Team
brothers.
So that is now the second Penske retiring Angel May after Da Silva did it before.
And it's interesting to see that Oscar Tim, in the meantime, between Jon and Oscar, there's a good, looks like almost 20 seconds plus of pit time. And I notice as well Mikael Drexler has finally parked the car as well.
Yeah, probably too much accumulated damage in that one.
Very possible.
So Vadim is in the lead now, but Adam Hackman is actually passing him. Vadim's no longer the leader. And we probably have lost track of the situation with the pit stops now.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so the main difference, because I think David Jakes was from the top 5, the only one who actually did that early pit. I don't know if Ray Riddle also did, but in any case, both of them, when they came out of the last pit stop, everybody was, because it was a yellow flag situation, everybody was on full tank. So in terms of this stint, they all should be pitting nearly at a very similar time. The main difference might be if later on in the race, some of them have less fuel to their avail.
Indeed. I would think the pit stop should happen around lap 112, 115. Based on
We're
when...
not really that far away from this.
Indeed.
And the fact that both John and Oscar team were going so quick and had to be the earliest seems to indicate that they are indeed running high pulls, higher PMs, and using up on fuel. I don't know if they are expecting to make up for it via the yellows, and we got so far two, which at least in principle backs up that strategy. But we will see how they can manage the fuel situation towards the end of the race.
Definitely so, and we can see that Hackman, now that the fuel has burned off, is going very quick indeed. And Rayridol likewise able to more or less keep up.
So the main change now is that Mike Olson also was able to overtake Simon Batman. They are both, I mean, there are several cars on the same lap, even if it's not the lead lap. Let's run through this.
Oh no, Mike Olson! Oi!
Oh, I shouldn't have mentioned him.
Oh, that was a very nice recovery there. Oh, someone else has spun in behind as well. That's looked like a black and white car. Could that be the Hemmelgarn car of Watman, maybe?
That's Chacon.
Oh, it's Bruno Chacon.
Yeah, that's a blue, red, and white car. That's the Dick Simon car.
That's unfortunate for both of them. The color scheme looked very similar to the to today's race number 11 car. So my bad on misidentifying the car. Oh, and it looks like Mike Olson has decided to retire the car.
Yeah, it did not finish for him. So in one more lap, that would put Little Al on 11th, and Richard Coxon in some laps will be 12th, which means he scores 1 point. At least he gets something for his effort.
Indeed, championship all the way for him. At this point, 37 points in the lead in the championship, and clearly wants to try and maintain that for as much as he can.
So, as I was trying to say before, let's run this down so that people get a more accurate situation of how the real positions in the track are, because the cars are now obviously very mixed. So in the lead lap, there are right now only 6 cars. That's Adam Hackman, who is leading, Ray Ridal in second, Vadim Tachag in third, Juha Boss in fourth, David Jex in fifth, and all of them only 8 seconds apart. And then comes John Tim, who is 34 seconds apart because of the pit stop, but he's still in the lead lap. Then, well, actually, he's now 1 lap down because he was overtaking, so it's the top 5 who is in the lead lap. Then John and Oscar are 1 lap down, and they are the only ones in that lap. After that, that's Luciano Rocha in 8th position with 2 laps down. And 3 laps down are Jules Buchard and Simon Watman. Little Al is 5 laps down. Then come Richard Coxon, who is 8 laps down, and Bruno Chacon, who is 11 laps down. So as you can see, even if you see them running together in the track, that doesn't mean that they are even in the same lap.
Indeed.
And meanwhile, Watman seems to have blown the engine.
Oh no, surely not.
Yeah, engine lost.
Oh dearie me. He was having such a great race as well.
Yeah, I think that he had a too short gear ratio and was hitting probably too much on the limiter in the slipstream.
Anders has retired? He is shown to me as retired on Live Racers, and he is.
He probably quit.
Well, that's probably down to too long a drive with a damaged car for him.
So Coxon now 11th, which should give him 2 points.
No, he's 12th. Little Alice 11.
Well, but
And-
Simon is retired, so they're gonna move up one spot.
Well,
Oh,
Coxon now
right.
is in
When they
one-
get by, but Watman is still actually on track. I don't know what he's doing. He's there in the barriers. I think he wants to get as far as possible, so as not to cause a yellow.
or as short a distance to the pits as possible. Similarly to how one could, I suppose, sort of argue that Kimi Räikkönen back in the day, when I can't remember if he crashed or if the car gave up in the tunnel, but in a way that was fortunate because he didn't have that far to walk to get to his yacht.
So
So
Little
Boss
Al
and
seems to have
Vadim have
pit.
pitted.
He's coming out of the pits. Coxon is also in the pits. He's exiting them now.
Yep, and Yakes just enters them. Looks
Both
like
of them should be right now. Little Al is 10th after overhauling Watman's last position, and Coxon should be doing that 3 laps later.
Yep, and
In
both
any case, that's Hackman and Rai Vidal fighting it out now in the lead.
Yep, and into the pits they go.
Yes, there goes Rai. He's now in first because his pit stop was obviously way more down the line.
When he's fortunate, David Yakes had a pit stall right before his, and Yakes just left as Ray Vidal came in to take his. Oh, and Hackman's crew already done. That's a blistering stop.
And
Ooh, and I missed.
well, that was a quick stop too, I guess. Nothing unexpected. And he is now trying to catch up because remember we're on the green, and it's important now for all of them to not lose the train.
Indeed, Hackman rejoins in the lead, but Tachak only a second and a half behind.
So after the pit stops, Vadim is in front of John Team. Probably happy with that.
Most likely. As Coxon now for the championship standings is up to 2 points gain in this race. Looks like Oscar may have lost his mojo a little bit here. 7th now, and either he's trying to save fuel or he's simply off his game now.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I mean, they probably realized that at the pace they were going, they could not make the float. I mean, it's only tiny bits that you go over the allotted one per lap, but it starts adding up. At some point, you do realize that you're way over the limit. So you need to back off. And as soon as you cut one boost level, well, you save fuel, but you're obviously going also slower. Not, like I said, a huge amount slower, but it's obviously enough to, after some laps, start causing the differences that we are seeing.
But John still going strong, and he was all crossed up 2-3 times through 3 and 4, but he sneaks underneath Tachak and takes second away. So this sort of looks like a bit like what they do in some distance races, like Bathurst back in the 80s, 90s, where one team car was the hare and the other was the tortoise.
Yeah. And I can see that Coxon is slowly starting to catch up with Little Al. He's now some laps down, but not as many. However, his race rhythm is obviously way slower than it was at the beginning of the race, nearly full second. And that's because of the obvious damage that is there on his car. It's a shame that this has taken him out of contention. But then again, he has to stay there because he can always fish for some points and hope that Vadim and David Jakes break the engines. Not so good for Jakes now. He's in 6th position, 12 seconds from the lead. But Vadim is there, hanging on, 1.6 seconds behind the leader. Although his last lap was really slow. Maybe he had some kind of incident or moment.
I think both of them may have been held up behind Little Al.
Could be.
Noticed John dropped place to Tatchak, and now John goes back past again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think some lapped traffic tomfoolery going on.
Angel Majors asked in the YouTube chat who rear-ended her and spun her. Does anyone remember it? I don't.
No, I didn't catch that one. I don't think we got it in the broadcast either.
I think if she means on the back straight, the first moment she had, that would have been a bit of same racetrack moment with Richard Wilkes. If it's the situation where the retirement happened, then I don't think there were any contact with anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Really tight between Tim and Hackman.
Indeed, and
Whoops, there
look
he
at
goes
that.
again on the apron. It was really low to overtake, and that's something a bit dangerous. We've seen what happens when you force the car down there. Happened to Coxon.
Well, that must be something they've done to the setup to make it possible to go that low.
Well, it's a matter of setup of the car too, because usually it's not the quickest way. And you could see before we got this situation at the start of the race, all the leaders who were going very quick, they were not even touching the apron. It's like I said, a bit of a combination of the way that John is making it work for him. Yeah, look at that. Putting the car really down.
I suppose it's one of those where most of the drivers are driving more of an open corner. It looks like Jan and Oscar is doing a bit more of a wedge line through the corners.
So with all the retirements now being cleared, because of all the running cars having gotten ahead of them, there's John Team. I mean, there's 12 cars running, and that's John Team first. Then comes Adam Hackman, 2.5 seconds behind. Vadim Tachak, 3.7 seconds behind. Juha Boss, who is 11 seconds and quite under the threat of Ray Vidal. Little behind is David Jakes in 6th. Oscar team has dropped to 7th, 23 seconds ahead, and that rounds up the lead lap. Then come Luciano Rocha, who is 2 laps behind. Jules Buchart, who is 3 laps behind. Little Al, who is 6 laps behind. And Richard Coxon, who is 8 laps behind. Finally, after long repairs, Bruno Chacon rounds up the field, 17 laps behind.
And that is approximately 8.5 minutes worth of repairs, roughly.
Juha was now in a really uncomfortable position because he has the Lola, the aerodynamic chassis, which is, like we said, a bit quicker in these situations. But he has right behind him another Lola, the one that you don't want to see there because it's the one equipped with a Chevy engine. Whereas in the case of Juha, it's a Cosworth engine. So Rai has here a slight advantage. And let's see if he can make the most of it.
I think the momentum is with Juha here in this case because they battled for a few laps and Juha was able to build up that 8, 9, 10th gap over the last few laps. And you can also see that Ray is struggling in the last corner compared to Juha. Always a little bit later on the throttle. But he makes it up on the straights. Watch Ray. Oh my god, I jinxed it.
No, but look, that's what we were talking about before. I mean, Juha, you can see clearly how he is using a more open trajectory. He doesn't go down to the apron. Rai was doing it, and he was getting close to Juha. But after some laps, he overheated the front, and that's why at some point he went up to the wall, and now he has lost the position to David Jakes. So that's what normally happens. The case of John Tim is very peculiar because he's being able to offset that a bit by using the boost and driving the car down to the apex, but then also at the same time probably killing enough speed so that you don't overheat the tire coming out. And at the same time using the boost to his advantage to be able to catch up with the time that he has lost.
And we mentioned earlier, Oscar Tim looks a bit slow. Suddenly 33.8. Fastest lap of the race.
Yeah,
The
probably been cooling down the tires.
The gap between the team brothers is still about the same when it was when they exited the pits. It's just that Oscar lost about 20-25 seconds in the pits, which I still don't quite understand.
Presumably the team wanted to clean up the car. It looks like
John
Jon
into the pits.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah, I mean, probably the reason he was running so quick and also running so low is because the car was light. With a heavy car, with a lot of fuel in the tank, you cannot bring the car down so easily because of all the weight. You are scrapping a lot the front tire.
I wonder then, are they running a smaller amount of fuel for each stop then?
Oscar's car died. He wanted to pit, but missed it and ran into the tire barrier. Now he is stranded on the track and he retired.
Oops.
Let's see if we can catch that on the replay. Takes the same line as Jon going for the pits. Oh, but he hit the grass a little bit too early and the car looked like it's more or less bottomed out, throw him wide, and yeah, that's the kind of situation, unfortunately, where the brain says, "Get in the pits, get in the pits, get in the pits."
Probably his fuel lamp also said the same, get into pits or we are gonna strand here.
Very likely indeed.
And all the people behind, just by staying there, keep improving positions.
Quite so. We're now about 20 15 laps. Beyond halfway.
Mm-hmm.
Which also...
Cox now with the top 10.
Which is good for his championship aspirations, and it sort of brings up the point that it is 500 miles, this situation, I'd say, where obviously maybe even more for the Tim brothers considering how loose their cars are, but for everyone fatigue might be starting to set in. If not necessarily physical altogether, but definitely mental.
Mental fatigue will always catch up with the other ovals. I think we already talked about it at the Indy. But I mean, compared to the 58 series we are also currently having, I don't feel like it's that bad in the series because obviously, yeah, you still are driving a car for multiple hours, or two hours, let's say. But you know, you also got some lower speeds. You're not always driving with 300 kilometers plus, which can take quite a toll over the time.
Indeed, it's very easy, the longer you sit there and try to concentrate, for the mind to begin to wander a little bit, especially when it's all happening so quickly as it does here. You're like, okay, I got it straight, I take a bit of a sip of drink, and then suddenly the mind wavers for a moment, and when you're back concentrating you realize, oh shit, I should have slowed down like 5 car lengths ago. But then, of course, in the 58s, the different matter of the thing is that you need to concentrate on getting the gear shifts right, because based on my experience, they are quite fragile in the gearbox department.
You get used to it.
Säger du det, Lucy? Vill du vara med och prata lite också? Okej. Ja, kom här då, Lucy. So, our third co-commentator has just entered the scene.
Was that your cat or your
Yep.
dog?
She's just had her evening meal by the smell of things. Looks like Ray indeed has overheated his tires as well. He's dropped 5 seconds now to Yakes.
One thing worth mentioning is Bruno Chacon soldiering on in P11 when he overtakes Oscar Tim Orada and does a lap more than him. Could also sneak 2 points when he's in P11. Big effort to drive
Indeed.
alone. Basically, you got no car to fight for. I mean, in this moment, your mindset is just alright. Another lap, and that for 100 times for him still. So that's, I mean, when you got a car in front, you got a target. But without a target or a main rival to fight, it can also get even worse with the concentration.
Indeed, but I'd say that is Bruno's strongest feature as a race car driver. That his mindset is, I'm going to finish. If the car runs and It's safe. I am going to bring it to the finish line. That's the goal every single time. Anything beyond that is a bonus. And he takes, based on what I've understood, great pride in that fact. That for almost every race he enters, he's able to bring the car to the finish line. And I'd say that's also part of how you get your brain to work, is when you're in that situation, or on occasion I've had situations where I know, okay, I won't be able to fight for anything in this race. So you set up small goals for yourself along the way. For me it's often been, okay, I'm going to be as consistent as I can. I might run half a second off what I could do with the car in question, but the aim is to hit that lap time every single lap.
One thing I do is I always set myself targets as to, alright, now it's lap 35, I wanna get to lap 50, and then after lap 50, alright, I wanna get to lap 60, and then like 10 or 15 laps away from the finish. Right now it's only 10 to 15 laps left in my mind, because I always set these targets before. It can be quite helpful, especially in the 58 races, when you got a lap count that blows your mind for a road race.
That's definitely also a very good way to go about it.
Jake's in the pits.
See, there he is, pits from what I think was 4th place. It looks like he will be able to get out ahead of Jonatan by quite a margin.
Boss also in. Touchjack also, I think, yeah.
And little Al in as well, in the meantime. Boss and Touchjack leaves the pit boxes at the same time. And in behind, I think that was Coxon coming in. So Ray Riddle stretches this stint, but look at that, the speed and the fuel save that Adam Hackman has had during the stint. That is quite impressive.
Yeah, that's starting to pay off now, I think.
In Motorsport Manager, so the simulation game, the drivers also have traits, and one trait of them is fuel saver. And the text says, every single lap I save the world by using less fuel, and that's Adam Heckman's approach for all the 500 milers, I think.
Very true.
And I wonder, is that specific stat measured in bunny slippers? How soft the slippers are?
Could be.
Like in different footwear, I suppose. So the first one, if you have no stat in it at all, it's a work boot. Next is like sneakers. Next level would be, I don't know, ballerina shoes maybe. Next one becomes barefoot, and then maximum stat, slippers, soft ones.
Nice and comfy, not just for your feet, but also for fuel.
As Hackman comes out, about 11 seconds ahead of Touchjack. Looks like Ray Vidal pitted at the same time.
And Rocha DNF'd.
Oh no! Whatever happened to him then? Oh, it happened quite a while ago, I'm afraid to say. So unfortunately a very good race for Luciano ends in a DNF. And I suppose the ones who would take that as at least a semi-positive is Little Al, who climbs to 8th. And in a few laps time Coxon will climb to 9th and Chacon will climb to 10th. Which are very good rewards for soldiering on for the amount of time they've been soldiering on.
Yeah, well, that's what you get in these races. I mean, obviously, if you hang on with such big attrition, you're going to be rewarded at the end.
Indeed. But it's a bit higher attrition than I was expecting ahead of the race. As Bors and Yakes are fighting for 3rd place now. Bors currently occupying that position. Oh, and he runs a little bit wide and Yakes sneaks underneath. And at least for the moment takes away 3rd place. Looks like Bors is trying to answer. Takes a wide entry into turn 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I think he has a little bit of a run, maybe. Nope.
Is
Okay.
now in the pits.
Bracha wrote in the YouTube chat that he crashed at the pit entrance, so he did Oscar team, I think it was.
It was Oscar indeed, so that is highly unfortunate, but one of those things. And I just realized we only have one Penske car left in the field as well, still running. And that one is in the hands of Jules Bouchard.
Bouchard is sort of best of the rest, like, he's not on the lead lap, but he is the first not on the lead lap.
Yeah, and I think Bouchard too has had his share of being caught up in others' incidents. But doing a very good job in that car. I believe that is one of the Penske's, isn't it?
It is, yes. It's the one from Danny Sullivan. And he is, I would say, for now, in a very safe position, because we're 90 laps from the end and he's 2 laps ahead of Little Al, so he should just cruising till the end. And it's at the top where we might be still seeing some surprises. We will see, because Hackman is really now taking off. He's 5 seconds ahead of Babington Jack, who is in turn 2 seconds ahead of David Jakes, who is 2 seconds ahead of Juha Boss. So 2, 3, and 4 are really, really close together. And, well, all of these guys are probably waiting until they do their last pit stop that they have. And then we will see who was having something there under his sleeve for the end of the race.
Indeed, but it should be mentioned that Hackman had 9 seconds after the pit stops, and Vadim has cut that by 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
There were lapped car in between, so that could be why some of that time has been cut in the form of coxswain. I say it's quite rare in this series that you say, oh, lap traffic, that's coxswain being lapped. He's had a fantastic year so far in this series, but bogey rounds occur.
Well, I mean, you have them at least once a year. And Tachiak already had a few same goals for Jakes, and coxswain this year always finished either first or second. And now even when he has a bad race, he still is in the top 9, so yeah, could be worse.
That's very true. Some points for him, so...
Indeed.
So you have Attrition now closer to David Jakes. David Jakes must now have a quite difficult situation trying to do all the calculations needed for his fuel use. Because having pit in both situations and the yellow, there must have been some kind of fuel left in the tank, so he needs to add that up to the amount that he can still put. But as was mentioned before, in the case, this case by Jonatan, if this all results in having to do an extra pit stop to be able to put those liters in the tank, then it's not going to pay off.
And inching ever closer still is boss. I wonder if this is one of those where you go, okay, I'll just drop the boost here and tag along. As Brunchakon has now unlapped himself from Luciano and up into the top 10.
Yeah, and Vadim is also getting, well, marginally closer to Adam Hackman. Let me check one thing. So, lap times. Adam Hackman has been doing very steady 34.9, 35.0, 34.9 in the last laps. In the case of Vadim, he has been doing slightly quicker. 34.9, 34.8, but this was a slower lap, probably due to the traffic. But he's marginally quicker than Hackman. And right now, for example, the gap is under 5 seconds, whereas some laps before it was 5.2 or something like that. So he's certainly getting closer. He has good rhythm. And there are still many laps to go.
Indeed.
Both are on the same full strategy in any case, so whatever happens is going to happen at the end.
I wonder if this is Hackman playing his strategy even harder, where, okay, I've got a gap, I'll make sure to save a little bit extra fuel still. I can let him catch up, that's not a problem. And be in with an even shorter pit stop for the final one.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, it looks like Bors is more or less doing the same, where he's just tagging along in Jake's slipstream and saying, well, thank you for helping me save a little bit of fuel here. In the meantime, 15 seconds behind that duo is Ray Riddle in the Newman Haas racing car. I don't think he's picked up any damage as far as I've been able to see during the race, but either there's a bit of accumulated damage or maybe a bit of fatigue setting in for Ray here. John Tim in the meantime I think has just pitted.
Yeah, he's the only one a bit of sequence probably with the rest of the guys on the top 5. Well, actually he's in 6 now due to that pit.
Jules Bouchard.
Yeah, Coxon is unlapping himself from Bouchard, and Vadim Tachak is coming from behind to catch up with them. So let's see how this situation is solved.
Ooh. Ooh.
Bose is tired of the slipstream of Radal. He overtook him, presumably with more boost.
Oh, Bors is past Yakes. Interesting. Ooh, and that's Bouchard up high, going down low to let the faster cars by. Bors dives down inside, Yakes around outside.
Yeah, and Boss now is getting very close to Vadim. And I would gather...
Oh no, Coxon with the second spin of the race. Ooh.
And that's
not where you want to be sitting in the middle of the turn. Ay, 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 ay. Hopefully people are able to see him. Looks like that'll be a safe rejoin in the end. Although he'll have to work to get the car up onto the banking by the looks of things. But off the race line, which is a positive.
Yeah, he's trying to go for the pits, probably. Because, well, for him points are important. But that car is very crippled. He should be trying to get it to the banking on a more forward seat position.
I think that's what I think that's what he was aiming for, but obviously the car was not quite wanting to do what he wanted.
No. That's unsafe. That's unsafe, and he should know to quit.
World Championship and all that. In the meantime, Bors has pulled past and just flown past Tachak up into second place. So it seems Bors now, as you said there, Tim, was tired of sitting behind and saving fuel, and now is wanting to burn some of what he saved. It's interesting to see that the gap to Hackman between Tachak and Hackman has expanded back out to around 7 seconds. So it seems Hackman, instead of saving fuel as such, is maybe more just slower generally on a full tank of fuel, but then when the fuel burns off and the car becomes a little lighter, it works better, and he's able to go just a little bit quicker and pull out and away again.
And probably Juha has been doing his maths, and he might have realized that he has more fuel than he expected. So he's being a bit more liberal with the boost.
Could certainly be the case.
Well, he's getting now close to the lead.
Yep, definitely working his way closer, but Well, gained a lot of time in that turn 1 too, but still quite a ways to go still.
Well, the thing is, if you can still put 2 full tanks and go 2 times 37 laps, which is 72, then it's a matter of calculating, depending on what you have on the tank now and when your next stop would be.
Oh no! Little Al!
What happened?
That's an oil fire, so engine blew on him down the front straight, I'm afraid.
Well, that's really, really annoying, because he was using a quite high or tall gear, and I know he was not forcing it. So that's really weird.
Well, that's I suppose that's one of those dud engines that you occasionally get both in real racing and here. I mean, I specifically remember, I think it was the 1994 Bathurst 1000, where the Works Holden dealer team put in 2 new engines into the cars to make sure that they would last. Oh, it's Jon Tim with a loose moment up into the wall. He may have lucked out and not picked up any damage. And the whole dealer team worked through the night, put 2 new engines in the cars, and I think the 015 car had an oil leak and follow-up engine failure. I think it took like 15, 16 laps, and then just before the projected fuel stops, the 05 car came into the pits, swapped drivers, and 1 lap later the driver was in with oil leak and subsequent engine failure as well. And there were, as far as they knew, no difference between the engine they had in practice and the race engine they put in to do the race with, so just occasionally you have bad luck. As Yates and Tutchuk are now in a battle for 3rd and 4th. And Hackman has stemmed the loss of time as well in the lead.
Hickman's now also using more fuel, more boost. Both Boss and Hickman are in the low 34s, 34.1, 34.2. So Hickman has responded, just took him a few laps.
Yeah, maybe going, okay, I can let you this close, but then, nah.
Yeah, identical equipment for both in any case. So what one can do, the other can replicate.
Indeed, and it looks like Bruno now have someone to chase on the same lap, Coxon and Chacon.
Again, another Lola car, by the way. The case of Bruno. Let me check that. That's 1, 2.
Well, Chacon actually
3
passes.
for Rai,
Yeah.
4 for Bruno, 5 for Richard. That's 5 Lolas and 1 for Vadim, 2 for David Jakes, 3 for John Tim, 7 for Jules. Well, that's actually more Lolas than Marches here.
So even in the real life series, they realized the Lola was better for these very high speed ovals. I read that statement as.
Coxon out again after repairing his car.
Yep, so he has Chacon, he can chase
looking
them.
much better. But it works for him. I mean, if he is able to, well, he's 1 lap, I think, below Bruno Chacon, 1 or 2 laps. So that's 9th position, and he's going to get anyway the position from Little Al. So he could be finishing 8th. He has actually still 60 laps to go. And because of the long pit stop for repairs, so many laps down, he obviously had a lot of fuel to use. So he can take advantage of that. And what's going on here now? Because Ray Ridal is 2nd, and Juha Boss, okay, Juha Boss is on the pits. Okay.
Ooh. And that's so a bit of a lackluster exit.
Juha just came out of the pits, so that's right. So Juha coming out of the pits means he has right now 60 laps to go, so he has to stop, but probably not on a full tank. Probably not on a full tank, because he can divide the stint and he doesn't need to make 37 laps per tank. So either he has topped it now and wants to do a very quick stint on low fuel at the end, or he divided it by 2, and well, that's what he will be doing.
Difficult to say for sure. I didn't see his pit stop time. But it's interesting to see that even with that, Hackman is still out there doing laps at that kind of pace and making the fuel last, which is absolutely remarkable.
It is, yes, and now it's a matter of seeing how many laps it is, because that will tell us how much lighter than Juha's car, the one from Adam, will be towards the end of the race, but that's obviously in itself an advantage.
Indeed so.
Bouchard's off again. He touched the wall a lap ago. Got some damage. Now he's nearly lost his car after the exit of turn 1. Turn 2 rather.
Yeah, that car is not handling too well. You can see he's working a lot on the steering wheel. He should be really careful with it, because he has a good chance here for points. It would be a shame.
I reckon it would probably be worthwhile pitting that car now. He has 14 laps. So roughly 10 laps he can lose out on the other drivers behind him.
That's true, but depending on the amount of damage, he could lose that much and then find himself fighting out at the end of the race.
Well, it looks like what he might be trying to do is go until the end of his fuel stint and then do repairs then.
Maybe. Hackman is now in the pits.
So Hackman went a further 4 laps, I think, this time round then.
Very quick. Coming out also very quick. Let's see where Juha is now. So Juha is now
15 seconds behind.
Up to the main straight. He's on the start finish line now.
And Hackman just exiting turn 2.
Yes. So that's quite some gap. I mean, the fact that he was able to stretch it has put him 9 seconds in front, whereas previously it was 5 or 4. But the important thing is that he has a lighter car now when compared to Juha. So let's see how that works out.
He probably does, especially if he short fueled it, but I'm not sure he did. But 11 seconds the gap, and 1 more stop for each of the drivers still running.
Yeah, and at this point for Vadim, I don't think it's any longer a question of winning, but a question of fending off David Jakes.
That definitely looks to be the case. As Chacon is into the pits. It looks like he now gets going.
Well, the important thing for him is that he has already overtaken the position where Little Al abandoned, which puts him in 8th place, Coxon in 9th.
Yeah.
You can see by now how long and stressful these races are. It's starting to really take a toll on everybody.
Indeed. I shall simply leave you for a moment. I need to check what Lucy wants. But I'll be back as soon as I can.
So Coxon's currently eyeing up Shakong. He's just about 8 seconds behind him, but gaining massively.
Yeah, I can imagine. Both cars are actually damaged, but in the case of Bruno, I think he took some big hit. And for Coxon, that 8th position would be absolutely golden. Because as it is now, let me check that and tell you. Let me see the points schedule, or rules rather. So Vadim in 3rd would add 14 points to his tally, and Coxon would add 5 points, being 8th, which means that his lead would not really suffer so much. Hence, he's obviously pursuing this with all that he has. Tatjak himself seems to be also running a bit away from David Jakes. Whatever he had left for the end, he's putting it now in on the table. Not a lot to gain in front, but he could lose that position, that coveted podium position. He's not careful. Still one stop to go for all these drivers. So we could see some interesting things here at play, because let's see, because Jakes needs to be able to stretch it enough to make the most of all the fuel that he had to his avail in the race. And supposedly Vadim filled the tank. Jakes could also do, but whether he needs a splash and dash or not, it's a bit of unknown.
Would be interesting to have a look at the few standings as a commentator.
Yeah, it's a shame
Pretty
that we
sure
cannot
it's
see that.
impossible in an automobilista to have that, but would be a nice thing nevertheless.
It's a shame. But then again, I guess we are in the same situation as the real life commentators with real life race cars. Bouchard is now in the pits. So that's probably a scheduled pit stop. It wasn't that long, and he's out now.
He seemed to get it running again quite okay for him, so I guess he would just now drive slow and steady to the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of that, and coming close to the end of the race, I should mention that we have still 2 Chevys running. Those are Rai Ridal, that's the Lola Chevy, and also Jules Bouchard, who has the second Chevy. That's in the back of the Penske. And those engines were less reliable than the Cosworth, and here in these long races is where it could really be a factor. So I don't want to jinx them, but we should keep an eye on that towards the end of the race. Boss, meanwhile, has decreased massively the gap with Adam Hackman. It's now down to 8.9 seconds. He's really going quick. He's doing the most that he can. He's fighting against a lighter car. He just ventured below the 35s, 34.9. Adam did the same, but the previous laps for him were not so good.
Wow, 34.6 by Boss.
And Jakes is now, I mean, he probably upped the boost. And he's catching up with Vadim. He might be able to overtake him, but like I said, it's unknown if he's going to be a splash and dust toward the end or if it's going to be just a single stop. There's going to be a stop for Vadim, that's for sure. Question is, what is waiting for David Jakes? They are going quicker than the head of the race, I should say. Actually, a lot quicker, nearly half a second quicker.
Wow.
So they are having the fight on their own, the distance. But yeah, they are also getting close to Juha Boss. Vadim is now 2 seconds behind Juha Boss, who keeps drinking the distance with Adam Hackman. But he shouldn't really be too comfortable now because Vadim is coming very quick. Very quick. This gap is diminishing.
Indeed.
Oof. Catching up really quick. Probably this is the moment that
Ooh, that was hard in mouth.
But this is probably the moment that Vadim was somehow waiting for to confirm his fuel calculations. And he can now nail it. And we're on lap 209 of 250. And I would expect them to stop like 36 laps from the end if they want to go with a full tank.
I suppose it also comes down to how much do they want to push towards the end. Do they stop a little bit later and be able to push a little bit more if they've got fuel to burn? But while we let this play out, let's return to that trivia question.
Wait a moment. Just a second, because Coxon just got Bruno Chacon. There you go. He's overtaking him on the outside. That would put him in the coveted 8th position that we were talking while you were away, because that will help him towards the championship. But he really better be careful, because he has lost it several times, the rear of the car. And a crippled car can be really behaving much better than it was when it was in mint condition. And now please go ahead.
It looks like whatever damage you did in its most recent one, it definitely looks like it's a cookie card and Bruno's at the moment. But yeah, let's have a look at the trivia question and the answer to that one. So the question, just to remind you, was who was the first second generation race car driver to win a 500-mile IndyCar race at Michigan? Was it A, Michael Andretti, B, Pancho Carter, or was it C, Alonso Jr.? And we have, I think, Alberto said Michael Andretti, and Tim went with the name he liked in the form of Pancho Carter.
Yes.
And I will say I went for C, Alonso Jr. when I saw this question. And the correct answer is Pancho Carter, who won at Michigan in 1981. So congratulations, Tim. You won the trivia question. Oh, and in the background, I just saw now, Richard Coxon with a blown engine.
Oops.
And it must have happened towards the end of the back straight as he now coasts into the pit lane to park the car.
Okay, so probably the perfect moment for this all, because all the drama is about to unfold. We got David Jakes now very close to Vadim Tartiak. They are both not far away from Juha Boss.
Oh no, another one with a blown engine.
Which is John Tim.
Jonatan indeed. Oh, phew.
Well, we mentioned it. He was using high boost in that. And like I said, this was... Oh, Adam Hackman is a bit boxed behind Bruno Chacon. That surely cost him some time here, especially momentum.
Yeah, definitely looks like it.
And indeed, it's only 4 seconds now to Juha Boss. Vadim is behind, but he now has a more priority thing to put his attention on because he's about to be overtaken by David Jakes. Yeah, David, that early pit stop probably gives him more fuel. He's able to be more liberal with the boost, but will he be needing a splash and dash? Let's see. For now, he has the last podium position. And Adam Hackman in front is suffering now because Juha is coming really quick from behind. Juha's turn now to overtake Bruno. Let's see how he plays it out. Bruno stays low. That's good.
And that worked out way nicer for Juha compared to for Adam. And Jakes ain't too far behind Juha either.
And Vadim is falling a bit behind, not using as much boost as Jakes, but I mean, there's still one pit stop to go. And we still... Oh, barbecue! There's another barbecue.
Oh
That's
no, it's
Juha Boss!
Boss! Aye, so that was a bit too much boost being used there then. That's so unfortunate for Juha. He was having a fantastic race.
And this is one of the things that will start making it really scary for everybody in the field now.
Quite so.
And Jules Buchart will be very careful now. And checking out because he's 9 laps down, but that means he's sure able to overtake Juha Boss last position and also the one from Jom team, and he can find himself in the top 5, which is great.
Indeed. And that means Ray
So
Riddle
for
up
Adam
to 4th.
Hackman now, things are a bit more clear on the back. The question is if he had been himself forcing the boost too to be able to fend Juha off, and now is in the same situation of being with an engine that is not going to make the distance. My goodness, there's still 32 laps to go.
I don't think anything is crystal clear here, apart from the fact that Jakes is going very quick compared to especially Tachak, who's dropped back to 4 seconds behind him now. I wonder if Tachak may have been spooked by all these engine failures and said, nah, I think I'll be happy to just trundle along to the finish now.
Yeah, all of them are crossing the fingers now for the engine to hold. Maybe even like we had with Thiago Canola, I think it was in Phoenix, where the engine expired just over the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And he coasted it.
Yeah, and I mean, we've had previously as well at Burke Lakefront Airport, where I think it was out of the 3rd last corner, Anders Nilsson's engine gave up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also one of those, okay, you could coast to the finish line, but still one of those oh dear moments.
Yep.
Or if it was Coxon, I can't remember. It was either Nilsson or Coxon who blew the engine there, and I think it was Anders who was leading that and blew the engine.
Yeah, it should be Anders.
Looks like Jakes is singling pit lane.
Mm-hmm. And wait a moment. Yeah, well, he's within the window, so it's single pit stop for him.
Ooh, and absolutely throwing it in there. That was such a quick pit entry. Holy moly, trying to gain
really
every single second a 10th.
He doesn't need to risk too much because Vadim still has a pit stop to do. The thing is, probably Vadim will do it later and thus come out of the pits with a lighter car. And that's what Jakes is sensing, and he doesn't want. Boy, this is a long pit stop for Jakes. Okay.
4 new tires.
Yeah.
That was very aggressive. I think it's also a case of, sure, he wants to stay ahead of Touchak, but he also wants to try, if he can, to close the distance to Hackman. And saying that, Hackman goes past, and Jakes is now a lap down. Ooh, and nudging the grass down at the apron as well. Was Jakes then?
So now it's a matter.
Oh no, Touchak!
Vadim!
Oh dearie me.
Barbecue. Well, that evens things for the championship for Vadim and Coxon. So is Jakes the one who now can make the most of this?
Jakes could overtake Tajek in the championship. Both are equal points.
Yeah,
Second.
they were on equal points, so this is going to give Jakes a boost. Also help him catch up a bit with Coxon. He will now be in a somewhat solid second position if he finishes the race, because that's at least a third for him. And we still have to see what happens with Brad Riddle, because he's going quick. He's now on second position.
His engine died. That's what happened to him.
Oh no, a turbo failure!
Is someone even finishing this race at this rate, or is just everyone gonna retire?
Oh, hopefully someone will finish the race. It might just take longer if it's either Buchard or Chacon who ends up finishing the race. And a yellow comes out as well, with Braveridol stuck on the track.
4 cars left.
That's both a blessing and a curse. Hackman could probably pit now and get out in front, but does he want to take that risk and let...
well, he needs to pit in any case. He needs to pit.
Well, that's true. That's very true. Ooh.
So he needs to pit very quickly, get on the line. He has the lighter car, so he has in that regard the advantage. So he will be for sure diving now into the pits. He will make the calculations of whatever fuel he needs for the remaining laps, which is roughly, let me see that.
22 laps.
22, yeah, 22, 23 laps. He has to put the fuel for that and overtake, because he will be obviously lining. Wait a moment, David Jakes is letting the car go by, the safety car, of course.
Yeah, and I think they are being called to let them safety car by.
Yep.
As there, the safety car goes, and
Hackman now
Hackman
will
picks
be
it up.
shooting into the pit lane. There he goes.
He does indeed.
And he will be putting the fuel needed, going very quickly around the track and slotting himself behind, well, that would be no longer David Jakes, but Jules Buchard.
Chacon retired.
Buchard, remember,
Oh no!
3 cars left now.
Whatever happened to Bruno then?
Yes, barbecue, like to everyone.
Dear me.
So, well, 3 cars left. Then Hackman will slot behind Buchard, and it's going to be a quite funny dash till the end, because they both need to make it on the track. Hackman needs to overtake on the track. Jakes needs to keep him behind, and they both are obviously now scared to death with the possibility of blowing the engine. I should say that barring any mischief, probably, even if they don't know it, the dice has already been rolled. So whatever they have been doing over the race to subtract engine life is going to well, it's already decided how much the engine will live. I don't think that much of what they do now will change if the engine will survive the race or not, except
Indeed.
if they go clearly over the rev limiter.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Hackman is in the box seat here, will be able to take it relatively easy. Jakes, if he wants to have a stab at winning, needs to go full chat. And I mean, Buchard, he just needs to last another 7-8 laps, and he'll be finishing on the podium here. With the Penske chassis of back in the day, Danny Sullivan behind the wheel, that'll be no mean feat either. Attrition or not. Wowee.
Well, all these laps are going to help a bit.
Indeed.
That's for sure. They are not putting any more stress on the engine. And we're going for another one. So we have had 3 yellows. 3 cautions over the race, unless I'm mistaken.
I have it at 21 laps to the finish, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Well, since as per the American rules, all the cars will get the points. Well, actually, I was thinking that's not exact what I had said before. So there will be indeed scoring. But yeah, Vadim has lost the opportunity to take a big dent on Richard, unfortunately for him. And it's now up to be decided if Jakes is going to make the greatest leap forward or not.
Indeed, as safety car comes in.
That's also another funny situation here. Puchart is 8 laps down. I don't know exactly how many he is down to Rai Ridal when Rai's engine expired. I think it's 3 laps. So he needs to do 3 laps. And then if his engine expires, he will still be in the podium. But
Indeed.
he needs to do that. Otherwise, he's Rai Ridal in the podium.
Indeed, and Jakes has 39 seconds that he needs to try and make up if he wants to win the race.
So, big start, restart for David Jakes. And we're going to see.
I assume Buchar is driving on the lowest boost pressure possible. He is at around 300 kilometers per hour on this main straight.
Yeah, that sounds rather slow. Comparatively speaking, obviously. I mean, doing 300 kilometers in any kind of road car is very dodgy. So
Jules is actually still 5th. I think in the next lap he will be overtaking Vadim Tachek, and then he needs another lap to overtake Rai Ridal. So he must be really praying and hanging on to the car. After that, he can cruise. But he needs to make sure now that he is able to overtake Vadim's position.
And in the meantime, Hackman has definitely pulled back. That's a 36.3, I think I saw that time round. Jakes on the equivalent lap at a 34.2.
So it seems that Jakes is happy with a second.
It seems Jakes is going all out to try and catch up. That is 2/10 of his best lap so far in this race.
Sorry, I meant not happy with a second. Mental lapse.
Well, it's been a long race for us as well, so that's completely allowable.
Is now officially 4th.
I think
now he's in 3rd.
Yep.
And he is now in podium.
So car number 3 in 3rd place. As things should be.
So we got about 14 laps left and 29 seconds. So Jakes has to make up roughly about 2 seconds per lap and has to make the pass if he wants to win this race.
Indeed. And to me that sounds like quite a tall order.
Bear in mind that he's also probably counting on the possibility of Hackman's engine expiring, which could obviously also happen to him, but what can you do? I mean, like I said, probably most everything is decided by now. And he wants to push Adam just to make sure that Adam keeps pushing the engine and increasing the probability of failure.
Indeed. Although saying that, he's back to 35.6 this lap around. I wonder if he's taking the stab that he won't be able to catch up in time and saying, all right, I'll take second. It's still a good haul of points. See one more lap here, but I think that looks to be the case.
It's always annoying to have an engine failure, but probably the most annoying thing is when it happens close to the finish of a long race.
Indeed, 35.9. So yeah, I think Yakes has said, "Now I won't be able to catch up in time. I'll trundle around and hope that I don't blow my engine and Hackman does."
Mm-hmm.
So now that Buha has passed the 2 retired cars, he's now actually using more boost and has about 320 kilometers as top speed.
So that will say, I really want to get that podium. Okay, now I don't mind if I blow.
Nothing to lose or to gain for him now, just send it and have fun.
Indeed. I mean, he could do that for another 2 laps, because then there's not enough laps for him to catch back up, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta say, no matter what happens from here on, what a remarkable race this turned out to be.
We still have got another 500 miler to go.
Oh yeah, the one at Pocono. Tricky triangle. Well, if this had attrition, I dare say Pocono would probably be something similar.
It's, well, the thing with Pocono, same as with Indy, is that you have there more corners and you are lifting a lot more. At Michigan, the problem is that even if you lift for the corners, you're just lifting a bit briefly and then you're flooring it immediately. So there's always more stress on the engine, which is continuously at higher PM than at Pocono or at Indy.
That be so, but Pocono is a far more tricky track to drive. Especially with the very high compromise you need to do for the track, because there's effectively 3 corners, all of them different.
Yeah, that's true. Although I would say that turn number 2 is the worst of them, because it's a very high-speed one, and if you get it just a bit wrong, then you are off for the wall, and there is not a lot of margin there to correct it. So that one, as you said, you need to compromise, but the problem is that you tend to compromise for turns 1 and 3, and then you do what you can with turn 2, which is a quick kink. So you might choose to go quicker at turn 1 or at turn 3, but whatever you do will also affect your ability to negotiate turn 2, which is nearly flat out, is a very quick one. And well, you can find yourself in a really dire situation there.
Jakes is currently driving like it's qualifying. He's using 4th gear, not 5th, using maximum revs, and he has touched the wall. But he did the fastest lap of the race last time around, 33.7.
I think this is effectively him.
Seconds behind. I think that he has realized basically that he will be getting the points no matter what.
Yeah, because he keep
Busha?
Bouchard won't be able to get the laps back, so this is effectively him sending it. If it holds together and he catches up, he does. If he doesn't, then it falls apart, and no harm done.
Yeah, correct. The one who has everything to lose now is Hackman. Because if he doesn't finish the race and gets by, he loses the first position. And if Jakes blows the engine in the attempt, what the hell? He got the points for second probably anyway. Because with 9 laps to go, Bouchard is not going to overtake him. That's probably what Jakes was actually waiting for. And Hackman, ironically, is going to help him out. Because he's going to put another lap on Bouchard.
Let's see, a 36.0 for Hackman that time around. A 34.3, so 1.7 seconds. Don't think that's going to be enough. It'll be close. But look at that, this is going to be a blistering lap for Jakes. Absolutely sending it. 33.9.
Hackman is not even touching the 10,000 RPMs. So cautious is he.
I mean, he has 9 seconds to spare, but
7. Actually 7.
That is a bit tight, I'd say, but 35.3, so he is speeding up a little bit compared to last time round. And another 33.8 that time for Jakes. Truly sending it and going all hell for leather trying to catch up.
Putting another lap on Bouchard. Oh! Hackman! I just saw smoke in the distance. Yeah, that's Hackman.
Oh
He's
no,
smoking.
no, you can't be serious!
2 laps to go. Car's yet not losing speed, but it's smoking.
Oh dearie me.
It's smoking.
Ay.
When he pushes the throttle, that thing is smoking. This is
Ay.
absolute total drama till the end. 4 seconds behind for David Jakes. 2 laps to go.
Oh,
Jakes can already see it. He can see the smoke.
what utter heartbreak.
Jakes can smell the win.
Yeah. Oh,
my
That's
God.
going to be really tight, really tight.
1 lap to go.
1 lap to go. Let's see what happens with
Oh, the
Hackman's engine.
fastest lap as well for David.
My goodness. If we had planned it, we didn't have such a perfect drama till the end.
Oh my God, look at all that smoke looking back from Hackman's car.
And yet, might be able to make it.
Oh, it's going to be so tight.
Let's see if the engine lets go.
Oh, it's going to be so tight, but I think he'll make it. He does. He wins. He wins the Michigan 500, Marlboro 500. He just makes it. Oh, the engine,
My
I think, just
goodness.
turned silent. Yeah, I think he's out of engine now.
No.
No, he
I don't
isn't.
think so.
Wow. But my God.
Still going on.
Oh,
He now put the gear and
holy
is moving to the pits.
moly.
And Bouchard also doing donuts because the engine lasted. Very good work for him. Amazing 10th place there.
Holy shit, so Hackman just holds on with a smoking, dying engine towards the end. Able to
these
hold
three
on.
gentlemen certainly did absolutely what they had to do in the race. It was amazing. I mean, only 3 cars finishing, but Jesus Christ. What a drama. What I can say, I mean, with words, because it's incredible.
Jakes finishes second, somewhat disgruntled maybe with second, considering the smoke Hackman was emanating for 2.5 laps. And Bouchard with with a reward for soldiering on, 3rd place and a podium finish.
Yep, and Hackman Park set in victory circle, although the 3 of them could have.
Indeed.
Well.
Wow, holy moly.
Hackman, not just a great fuel saver, but also engine saver when it blows smoke.
Absolutely incredible. Wow. 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 Wow.
Well,
And
what a finish.
I think
After
BL
2.5 hours.
Yeah, I think BL put that suspense towards the end in a very good way. It's almost as bad as watching a football game with 2 seconds left and your team is down and you're on pins and needles. Wow.
Anyways, I have to say goodbye now, guys, because I have to jump out and go for a shower and supper. And I'll see you later. Always a pleasure to broadcast with you. It would have been more of a pleasure to be able to finish a race, but anyway.
Thank you for joining us,
See you all.
Alberto.
Bye.
User disconnected from your channel.
Yeah, my god. What a race.
That was an intense race. I almost forgot I have to pee.
Yeah, that's where you know the level of the action and the suspense was right up there.
I definitely have to say well done to all the guys that have finished, and also well done to the engines that have survived. The 3 of them. They did a good job today.
Yeah, that was definitely a car breaker to say the least. Any other thoughts or ideas about what we have witnessed over the past roughly 2.5 hours?
Nah, I'm still blown away by that finish. 1 lap more and Jakes would have won it. Probably hitting himself for the few laps he was slower, playing safe. Yeah, but yeah, but it was a pleasure commentating with you and with Alberto again. And it was a nice evening, nice race.
It was just as much a pleasure for me to broadcast with you, Tim, and also, of course, with Alberto. And I heartily agree that is probably one of the more nail-biting finishes we've had and I've ever witnessed in sim racing. And fully deserved, and thank you to all the drivers who showed up and put on a good show. Unfortunately, a few retired very early, but the racing and the action definitely, and the suspense definitely made up for any early incidents that we saw, I'd say. And it seems Well, Hackman is actually there. Let's... I'm just going to have a quick...
Well, I guess Ekman probably has to catch a breather, drink something, hydrate himself,
Indeed. That's...
and somehow regain fingernails.
That's definitely a high possibility, so... I suppose with that, just to remind you, there is 2 weeks until our next broadcast, which will be the Escort Radar Warning 200, taking place at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And I hope we can get up to a similar nail-biting, action-packed race as that. And it seems now Adam has rehydrated, so
Hey, wake up.
final bit we will do is we'll bring Hackman in here and hear his view on this whole crazy situation.
User was moved to your channel.
Hi Adam, welcome to the booth and congratulations on what's probably was as nail-biting a win as it looked from the outside.
Sure got that way at the end, didn't it?
So that was not how you envisioned it with, say, 10 laps to go?
Well, I immediately kind of regretted just giving that 20 seconds to, to Jake's right there after we went back to green, and wasn't sure if I was imagining that smoke or if that was actually happening to me.
Yeah, I get that feeling for sure. Yeah, we were very much on pins and needles with that one. That was one hell of a finish. But before that, looked like you were trying to stay out of trouble early on, and then we noticed you had your pink bunny slippers on, saving quite a bit of fuel. Was that a strategy call or?
I think it just kind of worked out that way. I was just 500 miles, just taking it easy. But I definitely noticed I was getting a little bit better mileage than some of the others. So that definitely worked out in my favor.
It's definitely, that sounds like a good call. And I don't think, apart from a battle with, was it Ray Riddle and Vadim, I think? It seemed like you were more or less running on your own and with gaps in front and behind as well. But is there any battle apart from the seconds battle towards the end that comes to mind looking back at this event?
Nothing that really sticks out. Like you said, a lot of it was just gap management and staying out of trouble, and it's so much can happen. It doesn't really make sense to battle too hard until you're getting down to the finish.
For sure, and I mean, this must be a real high. So looking forward towards the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course and the Escort Radar Warning 200. How do you rate your chances for that one?
Well, as you know, I am definitely more of an oval specialist. However, one thing I do like about the kart, 87 and 88 series, a lot of the tracks that are kind of at the end of the calendar are tracks I've raced on a lot. So, of the road courses, I would say Mid Ohio and Road America are probably two of the ones I feel most comfortable on. So um, I don't think I'll have enough to compete for a win, but maybe get some nice top fives.
That would definitely be a nice follow-up to this one. Um, Tim, any question you have for Adam that I haven't asked?
I can't think of any.
Well then, congratulations once again on a hard-fought and well-driven win there, Adam, and best of luck for the upcoming one.
Thanks so much. I've heard of drivers hearing noises as they get towards the end of the race. I was beginning to wonder if I was seeing things too. I don't know if that's ever happened to drivers, but boy, very glad to get home in one piece and take the win, and first 500 miler, which it would have been nice to have one with a few more cars on the track, but I've definitely lost some in the closing lap, so I'll take it however I can get it at this point.
That's definitely a healthy state of mind to be in, I must say. So, yep.
Thank you.
So yeah, with that, we'll be capping off the broadcast. So my thanks to Alberto Ibanez and Tim Hille for joining me for color commentary. Good insights as always, and a joy to broadcast with you. Also, thank you to Adam for joining us for a post-race interview, and to all our drivers for putting on a really interesting race to watch, and to all of you for tuning in, and I hope you found it as interesting a race to watch as I found commentating on it. And for the next 2 weeks, I hope you all take care and love your fellow humans, and see you all in 2 weeks' time for the Escort Radar Warning 200. Until then, good night everyone.